Welcome back to my garage. Today we're going to take a look at my Hobie Outback, the way I set it up for fishing. I'm going to show you where I keep all my different gear and tackle boxes, and also how I run my cameras. And hopefully there's something you can take away and use on your kayak. So starting on the front of my kayak, the first thing you'll see is my net. I like lying it across the front of my kayak. It's easy to get to. I just have to reach down and take it out of, which I believe is the Yak Attack rotor grip. Grab it out of there and I can use it. It's easy to get to. Only thing, of course, if I want to get into my front hatch, I have to take it out, but that's also, I just stick it straight into this rod holder over here, and then it's out of the way and I can get into my hatch, and once I'm done I just take it out and put it back in here. Very easy. One thing about this net I want to point out, or recommend actually, is this is Bass Pro's own brand net. It's a really nice net for bass fishing. I mean, and it's only $19.99, $20 for this net. Really good value. It's nice and deep. You can keep fishing there and actually have it hang over the edge of your kayak, and the fish is nice and deep. It's got a nice big wide open area to land the fish in, and I mean the net is coated, so it does well. Hooks don't hook into the net itself. It's easy to get a hook out of there, and it's got a nice long reach to it. And for $20, that's really a good value. I mean, my previous one, I lost my one overboard, unfortunately. That's why I installed this float on the back end. But my previous one was more than 2 years old and no issues whatsoever. And I mean, you can even get pike and muskie into this one, up to a certain size, of course, from once those fish get. But for bass fishing, this thing is really good value. Honestly, Bass Pro Shops net. Really recommend getting this. You don't need to spend a fortune on nets. Okay, moving on to the front hatch. You'll notice one thing, I did not do the bungee modification, which a lot of people do on Hobies, where they run the bungee across the two front keepers here and then back down. I prefer the way it actually comes standard. I used to have it this way around, but it's a pain to get this thing behind the cameras when it's mounted here and behind the pedals. Plus, I actually think having it across the two ends like this actually pulls this latch down harder, and it actually gives you a much better seal between the two seals that's installed on the front hatch. I might be wrong, but that's just the way I feel. I think it actually pulls down. So I don't modify it. And then in my front hatch, I throw them in speed. These two speed bags are always in the front. That contains my swim baits. But I do put maybe another one in here. I put jackets in here. I put a lot of, anything that I don't need to access right away, or maybe once or twice during a day, I'll put it in the front here. What I've put in is one of these shelf organizers, upside down, and I cable tied it to the front mast post, and it basically, this gives me everything that sits on top of here will always stay dry. If there's moisture in my kayak, it will just run below it, and it's nicely elevated. Works brilliantly. One thing I need to finish installing is a bulkhead. You see there's a piece of foam in here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have foam all the way across, cut to fit this space. So I'm going to have a nice bulkhead so nothing small can actually slide all the way down my kayak. That enables me to utilize all the space down here, instead of when I just have the bucket in here, just that bucket size. It can fit a lot more in here. Then of course I have a dry bag in the front, and in this dry bag I keep things I don't need, like extra fuses for my fish finder, a couple of tools, first aid kit. Like I mentioned, I have these custom little boxes. I have it for the front and for the back, where my Camry battery, I run an external power source. The batteries I use for running my cameras are these. It's actually the Power brand make, but there's tons of these out there. External power banks. I mean, one of these run a camera the whole day, and maybe it drains the battery halfway. Actually, the one for the back camera is even in a larger battery. I don't need them that big, but what's nice, if I do run into trouble with a battery for my cell phone, or I can take this out and actually charge my cell phone off it, and it's fine. So this is a 10,000 amp. My back one I think is a 15,000, but you get them down to 5,000. They are so cheap. They're about $20 nowadays for one like this, and like I say, it can run a GoPro the whole day. Having one of these in your kayak actually just as a backup power source for your camera, for your phone, especially in competition fishing where your camera is a critical piece of equipment in ensuring you can take photos to submit. Really worthwhile having one of these things. No need to do fancy wiring within your kayak and putting in USB ports and stuff. One of these inside your jacket or inside your hull, more than enough power. Just my 2 cents. Front GoPro is I've put in one of the 1-inch ball mounts that fit into the mast hole here. You just screw down, so I run my GoPro on that angle. Here's my drive. I do have it tethered. I don't want to lose this thing overboard. It's too expensive to lose, so I always keep it tethered. One other upgrade I did is these the pull tabs for going forward and into reverse. These are the stainless steel cables. I do have the plastic ones that come with the drive. That is in my bag in the front as backup if anything had to happen with one of these cables, but these shouldn't snap or anything. And so that's a nice upgrade, not very expensive either. I have a Scotty mount here, just so that I want to play around this year with different camera angles, so that's its purpose. Fish finder, of course, mounted. There's a video that I did on that, how to mount it and stuff. I have a custom-made sun visor. I like that, keeps the rain off it and glare off the screen, which is nice. Paddle sits on the right hand side. There's the video I made about the upgrades to paddle clip. This is really well secured to the side, and it's not going to go anywhere. You can tether it down if you wanted to. Got a set of pliers on the side, getting rid of hooks and working with treble hooks. My power pole control, the one of 2 I have on me. I have the lanyard one that can hang around your neck in my life jacket. If I'm standing, I can access that one. Otherwise, I'm sitting. This one is quick to get to while I'm sitting in my seat for up, down, and all of these things. I attached this little container, a little holder here. I think this was an old children's IKEA organizer thing that I had in the house. I just cable tied it in, and it actually just slides along the rail. I use it as a little dump box. Underneath my seat, I do keep one waterproof box. This is the box that contains all my jigs. I might change it up. I might change this into a box full of crankbaits. Depends. But I do carry one waterproof box under my seat. I'm always in a high position in the seat. It's just a comfortable height for me. And then, of course, you have your front latch. So in the front hatch, I keep a bunch of stuff, some line, another pair of scissors. Normally, this bin stays open. I keep my wallet, my things, personal stuff, I keep in this little box. And of course, I have if I take this out, my battery for my fish finders installed there at the bottom in that custom foam. I run a Dakota lithium 12 volt 10 amp lithium battery. More than enough to run my fish finder for a day, and even a little bit more with side imaging and stuff, so works really well. That's the front hatch, and that's my cockpit. You'll see I'll keep it really empty. I don't like a lot of stuff around me. The Outback is a lot more compact kayak compared to a PA, so I mean, I can put boxes in here. This box can fit in here if I wanted to. Your 36 boxes can fit in there. There's lots of places to mount extra stuff. If you like to troll and you like to have a rod holder on the front end, by all means, it's doable. I just don't. I like to keep my rods behind me, keep my cockpit nice and clear. The only in-hole rod holder that I do use is this one in the front. I use this one, put a rod in here when I have to take a fish off or have to tie something on, and that's I remove the cap that comes with this one. The other ones will all stay sealed. I don't use them, and I don't want them to fill up with water, so this one will unfortunately fill up with water as you sit in rain or fish and water splash over. So that's the only downside, but nothing serious. So moving on to behind my seat, I keep my measuring board. This is the catch board, the aluminum ones. Of course, it's tethered because it will sink to the bottom of the lake if it's not tethered on, but it's tethered and it lies across these rails I've installed on either end. Fits nicely there, out of the way. I can still put stuff behind my seat where I actually have a box, a waterproof box with my craw style baits, and then I have this speed bag with all my worms in it, and these two sit behind my seat. Or I'll even throw this in the front if I sometimes. The tether, one thing I should point out, this tether actually I made myself, and there's lots of ways, videos that shows you how to do it, but this is made out of telephone cord. You know, the end just looped around, put some heat shrink on it, glued it, and cable tied it, and it's good. I really like this over, for instance, the material tethers. These ones don't play well with hooks. If you get a hook into this, it gets stuck in there and it's a pain to get out. So for no cost at all, I mean, these things you can buy at Walmart, a pack of telephone cords for nothing. No hook gets stuck in them and they work really, really well. So very simple to make. Really recommend doing that. I have my H crate behind me. I do have 3 rod holders there, 2 on either side, plus I have the 4 that's in the crate. Now that is a lot of rod holder capacity. I don't carry that many rods. The maximum amount of rods that I would carry at any given time is 9. You know, if I'm like pre-fishing or not sure, I've never fished the lake, and I mean that's the most rods I will ever take. So I got plenty of place to put rods. I've got my back camera, which is on an extending pole. So that's the camera that records behind me. And that is it. Then we move on to the back. Of course, this is my power pole. I run it off the battery pack, as you can see here. It just clips in. This is a lithium power pack, very convenient. I don't have to run any cables. I do have in case your battery dies or something happens and your power pole don't want to work, you know, I do took out one of these screws and just put in the power pole supplied little fitting here so that I can do this and I can undo it, which then if I move forward, this thing will then just loose and it will pop up. And you can get yourself free in case you are stuck you know, with the power pole down. So I have that installed. Never had to use it, but you know, rather safe than sorry. On the power pole itself, I must say it's a very expensive piece of equipment. But if you are a shallow water fisherman, you know, if you fish a lot of water that's up to the 7 foot, because my stake's about 8 foot, I would say like a lot of 7 foot and shallower water, that's an invaluable tool. I mean, it's so easy to operate and to anchor yourself and use. I mean, I love it. It's expensive, but definitely a worthwhile upgrade. If you fish big bodies of water and deep water, you know, you might not get as much use out of that. The other thing I modified, I actually installed this piece of bungee at the back here. This enables me to, let me just get it, install, if I do use my cart, I mean, I have my kayak on a trailer, so that's how I launch it. Typically just back my trailer into the lake, But this is typically where my cart will sit if I did use my cart. And then what I'll do is I'll just take this bungee, and it's going to be hard doing it with one hand, loop it around and loop it back down and hook it around that little hook down there. And then this will be secured behind my seat. I can use my kayak for the day, and then I just loop it loose. And that is essentially it for me and my kayak. Only thing that has to be added here are my rods. And that's as simple as I keep it. Even in my box, you know, I do not carry a lot of tackle. I have some finesse plastic drop shot baits here. I might sometimes slide that into the front nose depending on what I fish. I have some 37 boxes with crankbaits. I have terminal tackle box, which I really cut down. I try and carry about 3 of each. You know, 3 worm hooks, 3 wide gap hooks, and of every type I try and carry about 3 of each. And I used to carry multiples of various tackle, and it was unnecessary. You don't really have to. I mean, if I had to lose all 3 worm hooks on a day, I mean, I still can use wide gap hooks as an alternative. So why carry 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 of each type? I don't think it's necessary, but I mean, everybody for themselves. But I can fit all my terminal tackles in one box. I've got a box, square balls, spinner baits and things, and I still have plenty of space. I tend to mess around with my tackle storage quite a bit, so I'll do that over time. But I don't carry a lot of tackle. I have my worm bag, my crawl baits, and then my swim baits in the front, which I love to throw. I love to throw swim jigs, so that's it. My cockpit is empty. I like to keep that clear. And simple, very, very simple. So that is my setup.